Hello, and thanks for joining us on your anti-corruption program, Public Conscience, on radio, produced by the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, PRIMONC, with support from the MacArthur Foundation. Today, we come back to the issue bordering on reduction in the cost of governance in Nigeria. I'm Okiri Agbonsuremi, and my co-anchor is Adaobi Obiabumo.
Welcome to the program. Earlier in the life of Public Conscience on radio, around May, we devoted some editions of this program to examine the cost of governance in Nigeria. The Buhari administration was just taking off on its second term, and our concern has been that corruption and efficiency thrive more in bogus governments than in slim and small governments with definitive roles for every official.
Yes, Adaobi, the Steve Orosaye panel report reveals it all. There are many areas of duplications in agencies and personnel in governments, and recently the president pulled back 35 of the presidential aides attached to the office of the vice president. The president also stopped what is generally seen as the reckless travels by government officials, particularly the ministries, departments, and agencies. The MDAs are now required to do a lot of things. Talking about due diligence, they are to submit travel plans and the needs assessments for approval in the office of the secretary to the government of the federation before such trips and such events can be undertaken.
Over the years, the federal government has budgeted more money, over 70%, for recurrent expenditure. This side of the budget takes care of salaries, allowances, travels and tours, training, conferences, and meetings. The very essential capital side of the budget that affects infrastructural development remains abysmally low and less than 30% of the budget for most of the time.
And the National Assembly has also been competing with the executive in the heavy overheads in expenditure. A senator in Nigeria earns 14.25 million monthly, about 171 million annually, while a House of Representatives member is credited with about 10 million naira monthly.
We have in the studios Dr. Jide Ojo, a public affairs analyst. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thanks for having me. Good morning, Adaobi. Good morning, Agbonsuremi. Good morning, Abuja. Good morning, Africa. Good morning, the universe.
Thank you so much. And remember that you out there can be part of this program by sending us a message. Just text messages only on this number we are giving you. We will give you the numbers to call in when we get to harvesting your opinions. But for the purpose of those who want to send in text messages, please use this number 090-2265-6167. That is 090-2265-6167. Just make it as brief as possible, and that will be the need to make it brief cannot be overemphasized because of the time.
The need to make it brief and straight to the point.
Let me welcome again Dr. Jide Ojo, who is very renowned public affairs commentator, who has also himself done a lot of writings on the cost of governance. He has done plenty of investigations in this area. Now, let's just go straight to where the president is taking off from. We know the picture of the kind of heavy government that we have. I don't need to paint a picture of 360 members in the House of Representatives, 109 senators. We have a constitution that permits the appointment of a minister from every state, and the successive presidents have extended it. Today we have about 43 ministers. If you add the president to it, it will be 44 because the president is in charge of the petroleum ministry. If you take a look at the overhead and then the departments and agencies, the reckless travels that we have seen, the president is maintaining over 9 jets, and he also travels with the hordes of officials. We have SAs this, SAs that, almost SAs in everything, PA. And what do you think of the president's these steps? Are these steps he has taken? Some persons will say it's like a drop. in the ocean. Are they signals that we are beginning to take a look at this major problem?
Well, straight to the point, yes, it's a step in the right direction. The president is trying to reduce the cost of governance, reduce some aides. 35 of the presidential aides were relieved of their job. He has also stopped, like you rightly pointed out, frivolous travels. So you can't do more than 2-3 travels in a quarter. And if you are going, as a minister, you can't go with more than 3 people. If you are a director or PAMSEC, you can't go with more than 2 people. So
the class of flight has also been restricted.
Yeah, from first class to business class, that's the highest you can fly. But these are not new. Recall that when Kemi Adeosun was the Minister of Finance, way back 2015, 2016, she actually initiated what is called efficiency unit in the Federal Civil Service, where some of you can't go on medical tourism for ailment that can be cured in Nigeria and all of that. So quite a number of things have been done. But it's like giving with the right hand and taking back with the left. It's not sufficient. As I've challenged, I did an article, the title of which is Restructure to Reduce the Cost of Governance in Nigeria. You actually was very spot on when you were highlighting all of those things that drains our resources in governance. You pointed at Stephen Oronsaye report, which I took up in 2012 on the back page of This Day, talked about the need to implement that Oronsaye report. But it was just kept in the shelf almost 7 years ago.
And we are still maintaining nearly 800 federal government agencies.
Yeah, as at that time, the federal ministries, departments, and agencies were 541. Several others have been created. We ignored Oronsaye report. Then, as you pointed out, we now have a 43-member cabinet, president inclusive. What Section 147 sub 3 said is that the president should appoint at least one from each state for equity and balance.
For the purposes of
so that giving a sense of belonging and inclusiveness. But here you have a president that reduced the ministries in 2015, now expanding the ministries. I find
even created more.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Expanding. It's beggars belief that the president that kept about 36, 37 ministers in 2015, decided now to go 43. It's beggars believe that everybody was applauding that, okay, from the 11 presidential jets, you sold off 2, you gave 2 to Nigeria Air Force, but you have kept the remaining. And I asked a question. When our vice president have that copter crash
in Kogi State,
in Kaba last year, it was a hired helicopter.
Yeah, not one from the presidential.
It wasn't even the one from the presidency, and the presidency has about 7. So who took the rest? If the president is with one, should we be even hiring? Now, a governor in South, in the last dispensation, decided to appoint 800 aides because he wants every family to get
to be in government.
800. They don't have offices, so you can Google it. I don't want to mention them.
No, I can even give you some other states.
The man appointed is on record. He appointed 800, everyone from a family, so that you get no office, no responsibility, nothing. It's just like sharing the money. Now you have governors who will charter aircraft, even when there's a functional airport in their state, charter to Abuja. Sometimes they come like every week. You know what it means to charter?
At the expense of the state.
At the expense. The same governor I'm talking in South, when I was in that state some 2 years ago, it was going for an official function. The number of vehicles I counted in the Central was more than 20. And they said that is the way he does. Even if he's commissioning a small borehole,
everybody must go.
Everybody must be there. And I just look at it. Here you are. Look at the case that is.
No, let's take it one after the. We'll come to the states. Maybe and that will be we should lead it to the legislature.
Yes, we know that the government officials, they are pipe trained. Can we push it beyond the presidency to the legislatures?
Well, all of them are guilty collectively. Executive, legislature, to an extent, judiciary. Now, as you said, let's take it one after the other. We've excoriated the president for over-bloated bureaucracy, cabinet. Now you see legislatures. In my column today in The Punch, what I took on was the issue of constituency project, where the president said last week Tuesday that 1 trillion budgeted for that project in 10 years cannot be seen
to be producing
anything. And if you read, which I dwelt so much on,
is this as a result of overhead we are talking about, or it is just as a result of outright corruption and stealing that is taking place in this?
It's the two. It's both overhead and corruption. Okay, you pointed out that the governors, the House of Reps member were taking home 10 million.
House of Reps 10 million.
Senate 14 million.
14.25.
That is inclusive of allowance.
Yes, inclusive of allowance.
The salary, the
750,000.
Exactly.
We didn't even add that to it.
So the 14 million.
So the 14 million is all these padded allowances
for constituency offices, to pay aids,
to buy
and many of their aids are their wives, their brothers,
of course, and their younger ones and their family members. So these are money that they just use fake receipt to retire.
Yes.
Because this running cost has to be retired.
Yes.
But
some of these aides are not even paid their salaries.
Of course, now because the money comes to the senator or the member.
He just give
his own discretion.
Just use the phone to wire. If it's 30,000, it feels like giving you. You don't have any to sign any paper. So it's a combination of corruption and bloated overheads. Let's look at how some countries. There was a argument about a couple of months ago, actually in October, between Rochas Okorocha and Dr. Kayode Fayemi.
Yes.
Okorocha was of the opinion that we have a bloated legislature,
national
and
assembly,
that the number should be pruned down to maximum of 3 House of Reps members per state and 1 senator per state, instead of the 3.
Instead of the 3. Some persons have actually said, why don't you just scrap one of the arms?
No, that's the position of Dr. Kayode Fayemi, the current Ekiti State Governor, that we should scrap. And like I said in the earlier reference article, which I wrote on the need to restructure Nigeria for better governance, my own position is there are 3 ways to deal with this issue of overheads and bloated bureaucracy. 1, look at Orosaye report, dust it up, see how you can reduce, because we continue to create. Now they want to create a commission for hate speech. Just to deal with hate speech.
We are looking for another commission we are also looking for another commission to try electoral offenses.
No,
remember that we are also looking at
that one is even, you can even say, given the fact that INEC has been more or less idle in.
Where is the job for the police?
But let me even tell you the shocking one. Every region now is advocating for
a commission. They just woke up one now.
Yes.
For the northwest,
southwest, southeast. The southeast one was introduced in 2017, was shut down as House of Reps. Now they have re-engineered it. Now that we have NDDC, we have Northeast Development Commission.
We now want the northwest.
Every other region.
North Central will still apply for one.
The interview I granted The Punch, which was published on Saturday, was over this issue. Why must every region have a development commission with
What is the federal government and the state government?
What is the Minister of Works doing? What is the Minister of Health doing? What is the Minister of Education doing? That it will take. Look, and was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I took on NDDC. If you see the write-up I did on it, and I didn't pad anything. They were just what is already in the public domain that I articulated. You will feel sorry for the people of Niger Delta. As in, 183 billion could not be accounted for as of 2015.
No.
600 contracts were just
Do
cancelled.
you know
what,
if you go
200 billion?
If you go to some of these agencies, so that we don't go out of the cost of governance we are focusing, if you go to some of these agencies, so much of the funds that come to them are like in the recurrent. For instance, Orosoye panel was very, very clear. It was very clear. I've read it over and over again. And it makes a lot of sense. For instance, let me just cite one example for you. The space center, that the one we call the space center in Abuja here, the one that is supposed to be in charge of our satellite, the National Space Development Agency, has a commercial arm, which is NICOMSAT. It's a limited liability company. It's a commercial arm of this agency that's supposed to help us market our space for the various broadcast houses, for everybody who want to go to space. But that agency draws money, a limited liability company. It draws money from the federal government. It is not remitting money to the agency. It's not remitting money to the government. They have more staff now than the agency itself. And I can give you up to 8 agencies like this that are just in existence. They are just pipe drain. And the government does not seem to see anything wrong with it, because they need to appoint board members from the political parties. They need to appoint. How can we go out of this?
You see, the bloated cost of governance is directly linked to corruption. If everybody just go with their salaries and their due allowances, do you know that we can even sustain that number of agencies, ministries, and departments? But what rankles me is the brazen corruption that is inherent and embedded in many of these department agencies. I mean, it was not me that said NDDC that one senator is having 300 projects, contract, 120 of which had been paid for, and no work done, nothing done. And you talk of this in billions. Today, if you read this Owasoye's ICPC chairman's report at the referenced constituency project report of ICPC, they were talking of even health institutions and tertiary institutions who have bloated nominal roles.
Yes.
That are running into millions of naira
for staff that are not doing nothing.
That are not ghost workers. IPPS, they have only gone halfway. 300 MDAs are the ones that they have already in the phase 1, that they have tracked their nominal. They have come up with over 12 billion. 12 billion that is just going to
private pockets.
12 billion.
To
and
ghosts.
University of Ibadan is among them. UCH Ibadan is among them. UNN, all the tertiary institutions. That is why government is digging deep and said everybody must be enrolled. Everybody must be enrolled on IPPS. It's not like if you are not ready, you can resign and go and set up your own private school. But the point is that, you see, each time I analyze the issue of corruption, I'm almost close to shedding tears, because it has permeated virtually every sector. Our
poverty is defined by it. That is just the truth. Our poverty, our lack of facilities, our lack of roads, our lack of good education, healthcare. Even the president can't get healthcare in Nigeria, has to go out. They are all defined by this corruption that we are talking about.
That is the truth. Because when you say, in the last 3 years, we've borrowed to the hilt. What we have borrowed in the last 3 years is more than what we have borrowed in the last 3 decades. But what value
tangible
do you have to show for that
Yeah,
huge
huge
trillions
amount of money.
that have
They
been
go.
borrowed.
They 70% of it, like you and I know, go into recurrent.
And this recurrent is where they make a lot of, because of course it's across both recurrent and capital. But the capital, usually they will claim they don't have all the releases. But the recurrent,
They will take everything.
This ghost worker that we have never been able to kill the ghost. For the past, I don't know which administration has not been dealing
there's
with.
no one administration. Both
That has not, from Obasanjo to Yar'Adua to Goodluck Jonathan, now we are still discovering these ghost workers. And nobody has been brought to book. The culture of impunity is such that people just believe, I will settle my way out. Recall that just how many days ago, we were being told that the court rejected prosecution of Inde Diko,
yes,
former Custom General,
yes,
Controller General of Customs, because he has entered into plea bargaining, just paid 1.5 billion into the account of it, and he signed a plea that he cannot be prosecuted. Now EFCC wants to prosecute him. He just said no.
I already have an agreement.
He have an agreement that this one would. So the man, nicodemously, they just went into, okay, just bring 1.5. We are not told how much he actually stole for him to be willing and ready.
But you know there are former governors in Nigeria that have orders of court that they cannot be tried.
That's it now.
Yes, they cannot be tried.
Cannot be arrested. They cannot be
perpetual orders
they
asking nobody.
Be tried.
Yes.
And that is the impunity we are talking about. That's the impunity.
Some governors enter plea bargain. They enter plea bargain, and then they just from the back of their pocket bring the money, the 4 million naira, and then they go away with the load they have collected.
Now, such cases are not on appeal.
No, let's begin to look at solutions, Sadaobi. Let's begin to look at it. So how do we
reduce the cost of governance in Nigeria?
Like I've suggested, you need to tinker with the constitution. Now, let's reduce considerably this cabinet that is perpetually snowballing. Do you know that US, United States of America, whose population is over 250 million, has only 15 secretaries of state?
Ministers.
That's the equivalent of their ministers.
Yes.
And that's inclusive of vice president. 15 that runs the entire economy of US. In our own case, we are having 43. And does our GDP...
Even meanwhile, the entire budget that we have in Nigeria is not up to the budget of California.
It's just the budget of a fire service in New York.
In New York, yes.
So you are competing with that. They have 100 senators. We have 109. Do you know what Italy did, my brother? Italy has just decided that from 2023, they have reduced the number of their senators by 115. They have reduced the number of their House of Reps by 230. From 630 to 400 for House of Reps, from 315 in the Senate to 200.
Now who bears the cut? Because
that is
at the end of the day, we have discussed this, and everybody's in Nigeria. If you have 2, 3, 4, 5 people, Nigerians, including the House of members and those in government, they will tell you this is bogus. It's really, really bogus. It's too expensive. If you ask the president, will tell you it's the system that permitted it. The constitution say you must appoint one from it. Am I going to stop appointing people? But you can actually stay by that one per state and remain there. But we are not satisfied with that because of political patronage. Now, how do we get these solutions? Are we just going to be talking perpetually about this problem?
The solution is what I'm hazarding. Now we are going into constitutional reform. This is something that we should chew and agree. Let's reduce or scrap Senate. After all, the states are governed by one chamber. We don't have 2 chambers as states. We all have only a state House of Assembly. So what's wrong if we have only House of Reps?
Yes.
Senegal did it in 2012. Mauritania did it in 2017. Heavens have not fallen. I just told you about what Italy is doing. So why should Nigeria be exempted? More so, given our parallel state of resources, we can borrow a leaf, either reducing the number, like Okorocha has just suggested, 1 senator per state. They can do it in rotation. So this time, for 4 years, this senator is from my senatorial district.
Yes.
In the next election,
it will come from the other senator.
And then you rotational. Everybody gets that sense of belonging will still be there. Must we have 36 or 42 member cabinet? No. You can actually reduce that by half and do the zoning stuff. Okay, every state, like in INEC now, there are 12 national commissioners.
Yes.
2 representing each of the zones. And
Zones.
once the tenure of one expires, they move to the next state
zone
to appoint a national commissioner from that, so that it
goes round, yeah.
It goes round. So we cannot all be there in government at the same time. So this is doable if we are really, really serious about it. That's number one. That's number one. Number 2 is this issue of executive orders. We can actually do a law with executive orders. That's administrative power.
At least those things that we can do without changing the law. Yeah.
After all, the president is administratively that he has decided to increase the cabinet to 42.
Yeah,
it was not a constitutional requirement that he should have 42.
That's
so he can as well say,
reduce.
look, I'm going back to
36
or 37 maximum. Do you know that out of the 43, FCT is not even represented in the cabinet?
Yes, FCT is not represented.
So what are we saying? Inclusiveness, and the FCT residents have been agitating.
They have been protesting against
why are they? Are they not part of this country? So we can deal with issues administratively and legally, but more importantly is fighting corruption. See, until when we are SERAP has gone to court now to say, let us even know how the security vote is spent. 412 billion allegedly has been spent on security votes in the last, is it 20 years or thereabout? And this is money that is not accounted for. Nobody sees what you did with that billion. And the same thing.
Of course, we see what they do with it. What they do with it is that the governors, once they leave office, become billionaires. That's what they do with it. And we must be very clear about it. I don't see any governor, maybe in the days of Jakonde, maybe in the days of Olumiloa, maybe in the days of Ondo State, maybe in the days where you had Ramson Kuti becoming a minister and leaving the office with the same card that he came in. Tell me any governor that has not become suddenly a multi-billionaire with a big house in the village, 3 in Abuja, 3 in the state capital. Immediately they spend just 4 years in office. That's where the money is.
Which is why it also is linked to our elections. That's why people kill and maim to get to that office. You and I know what the salary of a governor is. Kayode Fayemi said it. El-Rufai said it. Their salary is just about 750,000. Less tax. It comes to about 550,000. Is that what you kill and maim, like we saw in Kogi? Is that what you kill and maim for? It's because of these specs, this issue of, corrupt the areas that nobody gets to see. And then let's take it from somewhere. This issue of ex-governors making law for them to be paid life pension, allowances, as we saw in the case of Zamfara. Thank God that yesterday the Zamfara State of Assembly
they repealed that law. But the one in Lagos, the one in Akwa Ibom, the one in Rivers, and
look at the duplicity of what is going on. Akwa Ibom governor is now, 2 of them are now in Senate.
Yes.
I think Obongata,
yes,
maybe he's still there. Or
no, he has left. He's not there.
But at some point, he was a senator. Now, Gospel Akpabio is a senator. Now, there is a law that says, even though he has served as governor for 8 years, he still will get largesse.
But we have one that is very clear. Abia State has these 2 former governors in the Senate, T.O. Oji and the deputy, Abaribe, is also the former.
So you can just imagine getting from the state, if they have that law that says they must...
Assuming they have that law in their state,
How then do they develop the state?
That is what we are saying. Zamfara, that is very backward educationally, makes a law to be giving their former governor 10 million naira every month. That is outside of pension. And their former governor, the one that introduced Sharia, Yerima is in the Senate. This Yari too would have been in the Senate, but for the Supreme Court decision that said they should withdraw their certificate of return and give it to PDP. So It was Kwara. I think Kwara also repeated that law last year when the trial of Saraki. So this is areas, and then why do we have to have government sponsoring people on only pilgrimage?
Why should
that happen in the 21st century?
I was told by a governor, and I also want to say that a governor in the north, I don't want to say, because it was between me and him, I was asking him, why do you have to take people on? He said that is what the people want. So a function of what the people want in order to get votes and what the people desire, and then the leadership flowing with them. Said that's what my people want. My people want to go to Hajj. So do I tell them no?
You can tell them no. The states cannot afford it. If you want to go, you can sponsor them from your private resources.
And that state, Sokoto State, has relocated. They have relocated 5 communities from desert in the last 2 years. Communities that have been ravaged by. They have become sand. Yeah, they have become sand. They have moved 5 major communities out down south. This is a community that if they had used the money, the money we are using for some other things to plant trees, the place will be there. Let's go to the public, because with this program, we always want to interact with members of the public. We told you earlier that you can send us a message to 09022656167. That is 09022656167. That is the number that you can send a message to. Of course, when we open the calls like this, the phone like this, a lot of people want to call in. Now, please go straight to the point. Tell us your name, where you are calling from. Hello.
Hello.
Your name, where you calling from, and please go straight to the point.
My name is Prince Job. I'm calling from Prince and Princess. Hello.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah. This conversation, I've discovered that most Nigerians have ulcers. Why do they have ulcers? Because when you hear the problem of Nigeria is being discussed every day, you will develop ulcer. Listening to you this morning on the radio, I was having serious stomach pain. I said, when will this end? When will this end? It's sickening. I'm telling you, I was in pain. I see somebody stabbed me just listening to it alone. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much. Let's go to meet the other. I hope we don't meet another person with us this morning. Hello.
My name is Tasiu Mohammed Umar. I'm calling from Life Camp.
Go ahead.
Yes, we have a great country. We have a great nation. We are patriots. But unfortunately, the leadership of this country is just a mess. We can't run a country based on insatiable appetite for greed. Everything. It's not just corruption. Corruption is just a product of that greed. How can someone take the wealth of a nation and personalize it with his family, his wife, his girlfriend? This is what the political leaders are doing. Today we are in a country where a president, I will have to say it out, could not even, he come in the public and lie about a certificate. How can we condone such a thing? If we want to move forward, true greatness lies in the state of spirit of love, sympathy, tolerance, understanding, and humility. You can't make progress when you are selective about the truth.
Okay.
This is my contribution.
Thank you so much. We have more callers coming in. Hello, please. When you call, we are very good. We are very good here in the studio, listening to how we get the problems. But please, how do we solve it? Let us also hear from you how you think we can solve the problems. Hello.
This is Jose from Madala.
Welcome to the program, sir.
Yeah, the problem of Nigeria is just the word of God says, when the foundation is destroyed, there is nothing the righteous can do. The foundation has been destroyed far, far back. In the past, we were not crying. We did not see anything wrong with all these things. Why we are seeing it now is that there is change of power. That is why all these are coming out now. If you can recollect, all the past law that were working for PDP, now we are condemning it now. But when they were in power, we never see anything wrong. We look at everything perfect by then. May God help us.
Thank you so much. I don't know why you are going political about it, because what we are looking at here is Orosaye panel was not set up by the Buhari administration. When Okonjo Iweala shouted about ghost workers, it was not APC. We are not personalizing. We are not looking at the PDP or APC. We are looking at leadership here. And it is not PDP or APC that set up the 36, kind of the 360 members in the National Assembly. Please let us be broad. Let us not go into the politics of it. Let us look for solutions. Thank you, and we get more calls. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Ipedra.
From where, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Let me just start by thanking Oheria. It's been a long time, all right from when I was in Lagos. I've been hearing your voice, and you've been steadfast. God bless you. The Lord is your strength.
Thank you.
Now, you will agree with me that if you're a medical doctor, if you cannot diagnose an ailment or a disease properly, you have less percentage, opportunity or chance of curing that disease or that illness. Do you agree with me?
Yeah.
Now, I think that Nigerians, we are not diagnosing our problem, or we are not articulating it or holistically. I believe that Nigerian problems started from foundation, from the amalgamation, from when I think the British is hiding a lot from Nigeria. When the royal company sold Nigeria to the British, and it looks as if the British is still holding Nigeria as their entity, even though we've been given independence in 1960.
So how do we go around it? Because how do we solve the problem?
However, what is the problem? The problem is that a country, a 3 geographical entity that is later made to 6 zones. Now, let me just, problem plenty, but let me go to solution. The number one solution to Nigerian problem is to, number one, recognize the zone as the 6 zonal entity we have in Nigeria. Each zone in Nigeria will bring 3 senators and 4 House of Reps. Police will be that holistically reformed by making sure that an average policeman will be better than somebody who is working in NMPC. The same thing will go for a teacher. These 2 professions, if we take care of them, the police, and we make police that the police will patrol the same car a president is patrolling with, the same car a senator is patrolling with, is the same car a policeman is patrolling with on the road. An average policeman will earn the same salary earned by a senator. If you do it, look, any country that does not have police, that country is doomed.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. We must give opportunity now. It does appear that you're suggesting some form of restructuring, which Dr. Ojo also talked about. All of us have talked about restructuring one way or the other. Hello.
This is Adewumi Daniel calling. You ask question, way forward. The only way forward is for we masses to rise against these people. We are
Revolution.
Yeah, I don't.
Until we masses changes. As I'm talking to you, a DSS man was with me. We are coming all the way from Gwarimpa. He's listening to your program. He's angry. And I told him that if Nigeria want to protect, it is you people that they use against us. He's complaining about his own family problem that he needs money. This, that. I said, look at what they are talking about. Look, he's from the north. I said, look at now. San Francisco, former state governor. In a play, you spoke about it yesterday that you went ahead with a driver that you told him to stop. You move around almost 200 meters. You go and check the water that they are drinking. That's the same state that somebody will still celebrate this night to come out. Now you want to collect 10 million a month after all what they have got. Before, he's a former House of Reps. He's a former governor.
All right,
now,
all right. Adewumi.
I understand. But the money from 10 million, and don't be surprised. some people in that state will tag it as a baby because he's not in PDP, because the party that is not.
All right, Adewumi, we must let you go now. It's like you're as angry as the security man inside your car. Yeah, I don't mind if the people. Hold on, sir. I don't mind if the people rise up democratically. Mm-hmm. We have a right to protest. But when we say revolution, we have to be cautious the way we use the word revolution. So we don't go and join Showore where he is now. Revolution is very good if it's democratic. Hello.
My name is Bifes. I want to proffer solution for the numerous problems that is facing this country.
Go ahead, please.
What I want to say in the first place is that for we to have peaceful, united, and a working country, a country that we can call our own, we need, are you hearing me?
We are hearing you. Go ahead, please.
We need to sit down and forgive one another. We need, like other people have done, other countries.
Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
Truth and reconciliation.
I thought we had an Okuta panel that we attempted to.
We have all of them. They abandoned it. Including Jonathan, they abandoned it. And this all this.
Are we corrupt? Are we corrupt? And the way we are spending money in government because we are angry at each other. Are you aware that when it comes to taking money, you don't see an Igbo man, you don't see a Hausa man, you don't see a Yoruba man. What you see are people who agree to just take the money.
Okay, let me tell you why we have corruption, embezzlement. Why we have embezzlement in the country today is that people believe, those in government have seen the condition in the country, and they believe that this country can never be united. That anything can happen. And because they have belief, it's military that started it, they have belief that this country cannot work as a unity.
So your suggestion is that
why, hello?
We just listen. Your suggestion is that we should begin from the point of forgiving ourselves, unite before we begin to solve the problems.
Before we can draw a line and say this is how we want to run the country.
All right, thank you very much. Let's give opportunity to some other persons. Hello.
This Destiny Anthony, your guest actually, I mean, he nailed it. His analysis, was just on point. For me, it's more like the people in power, they don't know the right thing. But the unfortunate thing is that as soon as they get there, I mean, it's almost like me. I want to open an organization. Let's just say a religious organization. Let me just say church or something. Deep inside me, I know I'm opening these things to exploit people. But I will tell Oyiria, tell Adoji, tell everybody that, God has asked me to do good. Now, you people will support me, but you don't know what I have deep inside my heart. It's different from what I'm telling you. Now, you people will, kind of innocently, follow me and support me. But when I get there is another thing. As far as I'm concerned, the second call is that you try to caution that went political and religious. This is part of our problem. If we sit down and say we are praying Nigeria will change, but when election comes, we have a lot of people who will line up for a particular position. We will forget about competence. We will forget about those who are capable of doing the job. We go and pick the wrong people, and then we turn to God and say, come and change Nigeria. It will never happen. The problem starts from me and you. That we know the right thing, we will not do it, and we are placing responsibility on God.
Okay, thank you.
Nigeria is not his job.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, that's the last we can actually take on phone now because our time is up. We have to provide the opportunity for our guest, Dr. Jide Ojo, to wrap up on this particular edition. We are continuing next week on it. In the next episode, we are continuing with the cost of governance. We bring in an economist, somebody who has the figures, who can tell us how we can stop the corruption. But let Dr. Ojo wrap it up for us.
For me, I thank all the listeners and those who have called in. The problem is to be solved by all of us. But I also must warn that, you said something, Ohiria, which is very instructive. What do people want from their elected leaders?
Yes.
I read the article by Babafemi Ojudu, the immediate senator from
it's SA political to the president.
Yeah, the title of that article is Caveat Lector. And he was warning that, look, you people make us corrupt. When you will come with your endless request. My wife is in the hospital. Yes. I just lost my father.
I cannot pay school fees.
I cannot pay. Senator Enugbel, nothing they told me for your boys. He said he has left Senate 4 years ago. People will not let him be. Even the plumber, we want to rip him off. The electrician to come and...
That's a function of followership.
Exactly. So I've listened to a former member of an House of Reps telling us at a workshop. He said, look, you people are also part of the problem of our political leaders. The kind of demand you make on them also makes them to be corrupt.
All right.
We need to have an attitudinal change. That, look, rather than demanding for these specs from these crumbs from our elected leader, let them provide us with good governance.
Yes, a community will tell the governor, rather than provide water for us in the community, take our traditional ruler to Hajj.
You see?
And that is what we want. We want our traditional to go to Mecca.
So that
before he died, because an old man. No, we don't need water now. I believe we have some quick messages.
Two messages. One is from Kingsley from Kubwa, and he said he wants the leaders in Nigeria to lead by example. We have the other one is from Yomi from Gariki. He says that he wants Nigeria to go back to regional government.
Going back to regional government, where somebody has already suggested that all our electoral appointments and offices should come from the zones. Well, on Public Conscience on Radio, we seek to evolve a corruption-free society through the amplification of corruption reports done by our partner media organizations and drawing our citizens and government attention for democratic actions against them.
On this episode, we have followed up with some steps by President Buhari to call down on the cost of governance.
And with the permission of our guests, we have just got to wrap it up because our time is up. We want to appreciate Dr. Jide Ojo for coming on the program.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
And this is where we wrap up the program today. We want to thank you for staying tuned, and we want you to visit our page, the news.primorg.org. It's news.primorg.org. Primorg is Primorg. And for all the details of the reports we have done and all the interviews that we have done, over 32 of them now. We have a robust website that will give you an idea what the anti-corruption crusade is all about. Our website is www.primorg.org. That is www.primorg.org.
And don't forget that you don't have to pay for birth certificate for your child if that child is under the age of 18. Similarly, don't obtain the yellow cards unless you have been vaccinated with the yellow fever vaccine at the designated clinics across the country. And remember to drop us a message on our email address, which is info@primorg.org, or send us a message on 0902-265-6167.
Public Conscience on Radio is produced by the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, Primorg, and the program is supported by the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, committed to building a more just, verdant, and peaceful world. Get more information at macfound.org. And Adaobi.
Yes, thank you so much. I am Adaobi Obiabomo.
And I'm Okiri Agbonsuremi. Join us next week, same time, for another edition of Public Conscience on Radio.